talked with Elwin quite a bit, and he and I have a lot of same thoughts on this subject. And I have a lot of respect for him because I think he really knows what he's doing and really knows what he is preaching to other people to save this area. I try, but I don't think I'm as good as he is because he's done a terrific job on it. We don't want to become the dump for New York State or any other area. And I don't think Tug Hill should be because the ecology of the land won't stand it. A famous remark that I heard is that water runs downhill always kind of amused me because I didn't think anybody had to tell anybody that. It was on one of the hearings of the Danka Corporation, or authority that we're with. And I feel there again that that should have an awful lot more, you might say, insight into Tug Hill than what they're using. Just the fact that we want this here, and this is where we're going to put it, if it's feasible, suitable, or any word you want to use. But I'd like to have other words other than suitable or feasible when it comes to the actual, are we going to do it or are we not going to do it?
Well, it isn't just the people on Tug Hill that should be concerned, because much of the water supply for the cities of Utica, Rome, Syracuse, etc. have their real beginnings in Tug Hill.
That's very true, and this is the thing that bothers you when you stop to figure what could happen. The other thing that's only recently come out, and I was surprised when it did come out because I thought about it the first day of the first meeting in Reident, was, all right, we have all the experts, we have all the so-called knowledge that's been given to the authority, and this is the suitable place. So what? This goes on for 5 years, they put this in. There's nobody that can tell me you can put a 20-ton compactor on a plastic cover with a proper fill underneath. You're not going to punch holes in it when there's trash on top of it. And you do get a leachate that doesn't follow the route into the leachate channel that they're talking about, and it runs off somewhere else into a deeper channel down to a rock crevice and ends up in the Adams or Adams Center or anybody's water supply. Who pays for it? It goes back to only one person who can pay for it, and that's the American taxpayer and the New York State taxpayer.
Also go back to these other ones built on this pattern of the lining and everything, and see whether any of them are leaking, and you'll find every one of them is.
Every one of them is leaking. There's, I think, enough research on that. I think the public is well versed in it. But I haven't got the answer as to how you correct one of these type of things, but I think there should be a lot more thought given other than just that we are going to have it here. I know nobody wants to dump in their backyard. It doesn't make any difference. I don't want one, you don't want one, nobody else wants one. The only thing of our own salvation, personal salvation, is to go to recycling.
And cutting down on the waste flow.
And the waste flow, and I think the packaging industry in the United States could start, first of all, to start packaging all biodegradable material if possible. If not, a burnable material that's non-toxic. And also, we waste a tremendous amount of packaging. It's gotten so today you can't buy anything, but you got to have a jackknife in your pocket to get into it because you got to cut through 3 layers of plastic coating and all this type of thing, and it's a nuisance. And it has no value other than the ease of handling. A lot of these things that are covered with this plastic and paper could just as well be hung up on a hook without all that stuff on them, and just a little piece of paper maybe on the back to identify them. I think our packaging industry is partly to blame for what we're going on with it. And that's
Well, they'll blame the American housewife who wants things wrapped for neatness and convenience.
Well, that may be true, but I think we're going to have to learn to live differently. It's not.
Some of us know how.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to bring up on Tug Hill too, a lot of people have been a little concerned with the type of so-called clear cutting, that's one term for it, that's taken place on Tug Hill. There's been a lot of raping of timberlands up there, but clear cutting to me is not in the same category. What has happened over the period of time, and I think anybody that's been on there and spending time will find that you've got areas up there that there's nothing what might be called of any value. So this person went in, or this company went in and they took off what they wanted, and then the land went back for taxes in many cases, and somebody else picked it up because they saw a little opportunity to get a few good sticks off it, so they went in and took that. And it's been gradually raped right down to it. There's nothing of any value left. I had some long discussions with Dan McGow on this, and he has some very good information. He has slides showing before and after where they've gone in and taken out the poor timber. And it's just like a herd of cattle. If you want good cows, you pick your breed and you breed them accordingly. And if you want good trees, you've got to do the same thing. You've got to cull out the poor ones, those that will not reproduce good stock, and hope that the good stock that you leave will take over. There is a section just the other side of the, what we call the trestle bridge on Fish Creek, which is on the old railroad, the big heavy steel bridge. It's in about 9.5, 10 miles from Houseville. They did quite a piece of work in there, and everybody was up in arms over pretty much. Gee, look at the mess. When they got through chipping, they picked up all the trash and chipped it. The first year it looked pretty desolate. There was trees there, but you could see through them pretty well. You'll go up there today, and this will be the third or fourth year since they did that. And you can't believe the luxurious growth that is coming through. Now, a lot of it is going to be berry bushes. This is all wildlife cover and feed.
Sure.
A lot of it will be other types of trees starting. Some of them will be good, some will be bad, but you have to start somewhere. And Tug Hill is no place where you're going to transplant unless you can take care of deer, lead up all those little shoots that come up in a hurry. So I think that what I have seen so far, it looks tough to the old timers that are used to the old trees standing there, but we have to acknowledge that it's going to improve in time. And it took time to wreck it, it's going to take time to repair it. And I think that's one of the great things, that we do have people who are interested to that extent.
Now, would you like to see a shelter cut done where you take out the culls or take out your thing, leave some of your best trees there for seed trees,
That's right.
and then come back a few years later and take out your aged ones after they have reproduced the seedlings for the next generation?
That's true. I don't agree with the idea of forever wild. I don't agree with it. I think forever wild with management, if they tack that on the end of it, and if we could get people who would manage forever wild, would be a great asset to the state of New York. I think the biggest fallacy we have.
It would probably cut our state taxes by 25%.
Oh boy, I guess it would. There's no question that is one fallacy, because I've been in areas in the Adirondacks where you don't see any deer because it's sterile. Now, a good many years ago, we had a big meeting in the early spring up in High Market. I think you remember it, Don. It must have been back in the 60s or early 70s, because I know by the time they got through driving up there in the early spring on that poor road into to Big Otter Creek on the High Market Road, they had to rebuild it. Because the shoulders went out. It was just a black top in the center. They had to rebuild it and wrecked it. But I went up there with George Miller from Deer River. George's quite a hunter. He knows deer, knows the woods pretty well. George and I were in there. He was staying at my camp because we wanted to go to this seminar that they were having. They take you into stands of red pine, which had been planted. Beautiful stands of pine. Just as bare as a carpet underneath. There wasn't a bit of growth for these animals. After this survey that they had, and we opened deer up, and they were full of pine needles. They can't live on pine needles.
No.
A lot of nice deer. So George and I did a lot of looking around. We didn't say much because it was a tremendous group of people in there, but we could see that if we didn't get these pine forests thinned out and give the undergrowth a chance to come back, that we were going to have more sterile country up there and more dead deer. Well, then the state did start doing some thinning. I still don't think they did enough. But you can't rush these things. They have to take time to get them accomplished. But that is one thing that out of that meeting up there that did come forth as to what should be done. We've got to clear out this timber and get the growth back so that we can maintain deer if we want deer to be inhabitants.
Well, one thing I would like to do on this tape too is to take a picture of some of your wall hangings in your office there and have you tell us who is there and what is there.
If I don't make any mistakes now. Picture William Constable. This is the one I call William Constable 1 because he was the one who was the merchant and also did the land speculating. This picture was painted by Gilbert Stuart at the same time that the famous Gilbert Stuart, both long and short, of George Washington were painted. We'll swing over and we have a copy of the short one that was painted by Gilbert Stuart. The amazing part of this is that we have the copies of the receipts where William Constable paid for all the portraits, which was quite a deal. I think it was a total of $890 for all the portraits of Washington and Constable that were made by Stuart. And you want to drop down on the hall?
On the hall?
Or we can go here.
Oh, there's Constable Hall.
There's Constable Hall. It's still looks the same today. It hasn't changed any. It was started in 1810, finished in 1819. Of course, as everybody knows today, pretty much it is a historical home under the Board of Regents of the state of New York and run by the Constable Hall Association. Strictly voluntary and very well thought of and very well maintained. This picture here, which one do you want, Miss Hezekiah?
Well, we'll try for Hezekiah here.
Tell me when you got him.
I got him.
This is a picture of Hezekiah Pierpont, who bought many lands from the Constable family, who also married Mary Eliza McVicker, Constable, who was William's daughter. And after William's death, and I'm referring to William II now, this is the man who built the hall. After William's death, she stayed on and ran the hall for 42 years. This is the same Pierpont family who are at Pierpont Manor today. The house has been restored and is open as the Pierpont Inn. He was a dowdy old looking character, wasn't he? Now, do you want to start with,
Okay.
This is Casimir Constable. Casimir is one who I have a lot of respect for. He was a tremendously smart engineer, did very much the geological work for the state of Pennsylvania. Also brought the Bessemer iron process to the United States and was very instrumental in developing the production of iron in the Roanoke an Iron Company in Roanoke, Virginia. The picture of the lady next to him is his wife, and that happened to be Jenny Constable, his first cousin. This gentleman here is James Constable, and that is his wife next to him, who would be my grandmother, because James was my father's father. He was an architect, and there are many buildings in Utica and in the middle part of New York State that still have his name on their design. He died at a very early age, and the story is that he came up to the hall and visited and went back, and he died at Trenton Falls of diphtheria, which he developed from the water system at the hall.
And down below is?
Down below are his two sons, which would be John, let's see, wait a minute, wait a minute, let me get this right. We get caught. No, these are them as a boy.
Those are the two as
Yeah,
boys.
those are two as boys. Yeah, that's Casimir and James as boys.
Mm-hmm. And then up here is?
This is an early picture of my father as a young man. I think that was shortly after he graduated from MIT. And at the time, just before he went to work for the Edison Laboratories at Edison, New Jersey. This framed picture that we're looking at is dated December 30th, 1920. It says, "Constable, your work has not been satisfactory to me, so I request you resign as of January 15th. I will, however, continue your salary to March 15th, 1921. Thomas A. Edison."